Sean, the Buffalo Bills win total is set at 10.5 wins. But I would argue that the Bills have even more question marks than the Ravens. They drafted Skylar Bell, wide receiver from UConn, Jude Bowery, offensive lineman from Boston College, edge rusher TJ Parker, linebacker Caleb Elarms, or defensive back Jalen Kilgore, and corner Davison Igbinosun. Free agents or offseason additions, they traded for DJ Moore. They signed pass rusher Bradley Chubb. They also added safety CJ Gardner-Johnson and defensive back D. Alford.
Yeah.
No real upsetting losses that you look at and think, oh man, that's a real tough loss for you. I don't think that they really lost much. Having the returning core that we know and expect to be reliable with Josh Allen and James Cook, that is what is going to carry you, as we always talk about with the Buffalo Bills. Here's my one thing, though. How much better did they get? Did they get better at all, or did they stay the same? I think that they stayed the same.
I could see that. I would almost vote stay the same because I thought Sean McDermott not coaching the team was a bit of a loss. And then you would go with Brady to be the head coach. All right. That's a little concerning. I think they still got better. Like the DJ Moore situation, I know he never became the top flight wide receiver that a lot of people thought he would be. They get better by adding him to their wide receiver core. They needed it desperately. You add Bradley Chubb to your team, you get better. And then I know he irritates a lot of people, but adding CJ Gardner-Johnson, there's games every year where I'm watching, and he makes a huge play. He gets in a wide receiver's head. He does something where I'm like, man, I know he goes from team to team, but he is an impact safety. He's a good player to have on your team. I think the Bills needed him. At the draft, okay, like these are a bunch of guys that real draft guys would know. A lot of them are real draft. I'm not watching TJ Parker film. I'm not. So hopefully he's good. Hopefully he's a big, strong defensive end.
He's very raw, and I think that looking at their projected depth chart, he's probably going to be more rotational in year one because their defensive core is really good. That's the thing. At the end of the day, their defensive core that they brought back is very, very good. They didn't really need to do anything. They're bringing back a really good defensive line. Their linebacker room is maybe one of the weaker position groups they have. Their secondary is pretty good. You shouldn't have any qualms or concerns about what they're doing defensively. It all comes down to how improved is their weaponry. The only major move that you made was going and getting DJ Moore.
Yeah.
We praised it. We thought it was a good move. Gave up a lot to go and get him. Seems like it was a bit expensive for what a DJ Moore asking price probably should be. If you don't get a leap out of Keon Coleman, which constantly keeps getting projected, the rest of the receivers that they have are marginal, solid players. At the end of the day, they didn't make enough moves for me to feel like that their offense is going to change. Last season, they fired Sean McDermott.
Yeah.
Normally, when you fire a head coach, you can look to and say, okay, well, their offense can improve because they've got a new scheme. They've got a new play caller. They've got a new coach that's going to lead a new direction. We're going to try this new vision, and it's going to help us. So with one decent addition with DJ Moore, you would think some sort of identity change would be the shift that this team needed. But no, you promoted Joe Brady, who I think is a great coach, but where did things get different? Was Sean McDermott really holding back Joe Brady that much?
I didn't think so. It felt like a GM moment, except it's Josh Allen GM moment where they
act like that he had no involvement.
I think it's fine to have your quarterback involved with who the offensive coordinator should be if they mesh well. If he's got a great relationship with Joe Brady, I love it. Keep Joe Brady. I don't know. Joe Brady doesn't scream head coach to me, though. And I think it's important because all we see in the NFL now is OC turnover. And it's starting to become pretty common that if you're a quarterback and you have a winning season, you're going to have a new offensive coordinator next year, and you're going to have to learn a whole new system. Yeah. Whereas it didn't used to be like that. You used to have to wait years and years to have a job opening come up, and then an OC might leave. He might leave the opportunity to coach a good offense. Keeping Joe Brady's fine with me. I didn't think Sean McDermott was a detraction. Let's see if Joe Brady can manage the clock well, how he does in situations. Like if it feels like he's making smart decisions and not throwing the team off the rails, which I thought McDermott was pretty decent at. I thought he was pretty good at being the adult in the room for that team, where I thought it was a pretty respectable team. And at times, like, it wasn't Sean McDermott's fault that against Denver at the end of the first half in the playoffs, Josh Allen started running around and put the ball on the ground and gave Denver an extra 3 points before the half. Like, that wasn't Sean McDermott's fault, but I guess you had to get rid of somebody if you weren't making it onto the next round again.
This is why the whole thing like bugs the crap out of me of expecting that the Buffalo Bills are going to be transcendent this upcoming season. This is why the firing of McDermott was stupid, and I think a lot of people agree with us that it was a dumb decision to do it. You were as good as you were last year. Again, with the same damn play caller who's going to be calling plays, assuming nothing changes by the end of the season, the same damn play caller. You got as far as you did because McDermott has been a good locker room culture building coach for you. Your defensive identity stayed the same, and you've gotten a ton of value out of guys that are playing at a very, very high level. They play cohesively as a group. You don't have like that crazy elite alpha player in this defense. Everybody just plays at an above average enough of a level that it all meshes together really freaking well. The problem that we all brought up, that we all discussed, that everybody said against the Jaguars and when we watched him against the Broncos was, why doesn't he have more weapons?
What are you talking? They got Mecole Hardman. They brought him in.
Why doesn't Josh Allen have that alpha receiver? That was the whole talking point. It wasn't so much, oh, we need to go get more pieces here, here, and here, and here. Mm-hmm. Getting a DJ Moore is a nice auxiliary piece. He's a good receiver. They needed an A.J. Brown. They needed to get into the A.J. Brown sweepstakes. I'm assuming that they're not going to at this point.
They got one. They got one wide receiver 1/wide receiver 2. The rest is Joshua Palmer, Shakir, Tyrell Shavers.
I don't know if there's any way to save the Stephon Diggs relationship. He's not like an alpha receiver, but I don't know where that stands.
Why wouldn't they make a play on Juwan Jennings? Why wouldn't they do that?
Well, he's gone now.
He would have helped them. Yeah, I know.
But like that would have been a solid addition. I keep coming back to why not try and swing a trade for a higher end player? Why not trade up in the past draft to draft another wide receiver? Instead, you traded back and you took a developmental pass rusher. You didn't take a receiver early until you took Skylar Bell, who is multiple years away until he actually turns into the player that I think a lot of people are hoping for. That's why I can't get all the way bought in. I think the Bills are going to go to they're going to go to the playoffs, and they're going to probably win playoff games. But I think we saw what their ceiling was last year. We're just going to hit it again.
Yeah, Joe Brady and that offense, they love a smaller wide receiver to catch screens and get 6 yards. They love that. They love throwing a contested slant to Khalil Shakir. It's every time it happens, I get up and I twitch and I'm infuriated. Because how is that the go-to? How are you throwing it to the 5'9" wide receiver who's being draped on the entire by a DB? Like, I just cannot. I won't understand that. But he's, I guess, get your playmakers the ball in space type guy. Fine. I'm a let the quarterback make a good throw, have a good route down the field, and then move the ball efficiently type guy. I hate when they chunk play it and not chunk play, where they just nickel and dime you down the field with guys that aren't built to do that. It's just too many smurf routes. It's too many screens. It doesn't feel like we're maxing out what this offense could be when you have a quarterback of Josh Allen's caliber who can throw it deep and, more importantly, throw it deep accurately. Send everybody down the field. Take the top off. Nobody does that. They have to do something. They have to rectify. It can't still be the same blueprint because the Chiefs have picked up on it. The Broncos picked up on it. Mm-hmm. Every team in the AFC would know how to stop the Bills. Keep Josh Allen in the pocket. Cover up his weak-ass wide receivers.
Let's look at their upcoming opponents for 2026. Their win total is set at 10.5, over -130, under at +100. So it seems like there's a belief that from the books that they're leaning towards that them winning 11 games, which is totally plausible because you're playing in the AFC East. You get two gimme games with the Dolphins and the Jets being ass unless you completely bomb a game that you're not supposed to, which is totally possible the first-year head coach. Dolphins, Jets, Patriots, these are the home games. Chiefs, Chargers, Bears, Lions, Ravens. I would like to point out that getting the Chiefs at home, one, is strong, but also once we know the schedule release on Thursday, is that an early season game? Which I would imagine they're probably not going to do that.
Yep.
Probably going to put that at the end of the season so that they can have Mahomes on the field, just knowing how the NFL is going to.
That'll be a Black Friday, you know, that situation where the whole nation gets watched, which I love, by the way. I'm great. That's great. Sure. Good for me.
Dolphins, these are away games. Dolphins, Jets, Patriots, Broncos, Packers, Raiders, Vikings, Texans, Rams. With the built-in free 4 wins, I think that we could talk ourselves into them working their way up to 11. Like, it just, as shaky as they might feel, I feel like they're reliable enough of a franchise with a star quarterback to win 11 games. There would need to be a lot of reliability, specifically defensively, that would collapse during this upcoming year. For me, looking at the schedule, looking at their opponents, to hit the under and to only win 10 games.
They would have to drop multiple weird ones, which the Bills don't really do. They don't do that. They roll over the Skells in their division. You get 4 wins between the Dolphins and the Jets, split with the Patriots. You got 5 wins. You can find 6 on year. They are that good. I'm not worried about the Bills winning a tough matchup. I think Josh Allen has proven himself as a quarterback to win tough matchups, to win games against good defenses even. He's been able to shoulder that load and actually make things happen. That's why we talk about him so well. That's why I talk about him highly, because when he goes up good teams like the Texans or the Vikings or the Packers, he's not going to just load up the back of his britches and say, oh, James Cook didn't help me out enough. He's not going to say that. He's going to get a win. He's going to make wins out of those games. Like, the Bears are a great team. We're both super high on the Bears this year. I have so much belief in them, but I think Josh Allen could play circles around Caleb Williams still if it comes down to a big game. If it comes down to the fourth quarter, I would live bet the Bills, and I would put a big one on it too, because I just think they're that team, and he's that dude where he can pull a win out of nowhere, even if you're down 3 with 5 minutes left. I want Josh Allen with the ball. That is a bettor's dream, is to have an over bet on this team. I like the over in theory, and I know it's a really nasty draw, AFC West, NFC North. There's 6 playoff teams between those 2 divisions that I could see with the Chiefs, Chargers, and the Broncos, and then the Packers, Bears, and Lions. Like, I could see that. I still think the Bills handle a lot of business, especially with the NFC North.
Yeah, I think it just, at the end of the day, when you have an elite quarterback like this, and I know that we were actually the margin here is so different for what we were talking about the Ravens and here with the Bills, because you have an easier division that you're playing in. And I think a lot of their upcoming matchups that they have, that Josh Allen is good enough to potentially bail them out. I mean, we're talking about winning 11 games. It just feels so much crazier to suggest that a team could win 12.
Yeah.
I know that we're talking about one game here. We're talking about just one game. Winning 12 puts you in a Super Bowl conversation. Winning 11
That's
games,
a 1 seed conversation.
Yeah, winning 11 games just means you win your division in most cases. They're a 10-7 Josh Allen led team feels off to me. I think that an 11-6 team, an 11-6 Baltimore Ravens team is far more plausible. If this was 11.5, I wouldn't take it though. They got a good draw on the line, and I wonder if it ends up moving if enough people end up taking the over.
I like the over. I'll also talk myself into a Buffalo over because they have a home field advantage. Mm-hmm. The Lions, great team, great offense. What if they're playing the Lions in December? Detroit plays in a dome. You know, they're going to have to go and play that cold. They're uncomfortable. The Chargers, they play in Los Angeles in a stadium. Go ahead. Go be the Chargers and try to do that smash mouth football in Buffalo. You're going to have a lot of guys shaking, a lot of guys uncomfortable. Bears, they play outside. Ravens, they play outside. They're kind of tough. But having those games and having an advantage like that, playing in the frozen freaking tundra, I like it. I always give the Bills more favorability in those situations.